How's it going, everyone? The Nations League well in our rearview mirror. As I think everyone's okay. We had a light celebration, nothing overwhelming because we're quite accustomed to beating Mexico. As we've touched on Mexico, the big stories, we got to get them up. But now we're here in April, and there's nothing on the calendar for the United States until early June, and then the summer is going to be just massive between the Copa America and certainly the U.S. men's national team effort at the Olympics. It's going to be huge. And we got some homework to do, right? We've got things that we need to take care of on the field, off the field, before the summer gets here. And it's going to be here quickly. I mean, the Copa America, what is it, 80 days away? And we've got to get ready. We've got to get into viewing shape, hit the gym. Heavy carb dinners, whatever it takes. Get people excited. I'll talk about that in a moment. But today on the Soccer OG, check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. New episode coming out on Monday. I will be joined by former Mexican international Marco Fabian. We'll talk about his new adventure at Major Arena Soccer League, MASL. We'll also get his feedback on where it went wrong for Mexico. What do they have to do ahead of the Copa America to get back on the rails? And of course, like and subscribe us here. Smash, hit, kiss that like, subscribe button. Hold on a second. I just want to check something. I want to make sure my audio is okay. Hello? Yeah, it's good. I've been crazy in this little studio of mine. Had some good memories here. So like and subscribe. Let's get going. One thing that did come out I wanted to address was the odds. It was Sport 90, I believe, was the odds maker for the Copa America. People were up in arms because the Mexican national team has better odds than the United States. There you see it. According to Score 90, Argentina 30% probability, Brazil 25, Uruguay 14, Mexico 8, Colombia 6. USA's on the next page with 5. So there's two things at play here. The Mexican public, God bless them, they're putting their money on Mexico, hoping things turn around. So that's partially at play. The other thing is the brackets. A and B, groups A and B, that's where Argentina, Mexico, and Ecuador are. I think Ecuador would be the third big favorite there. Group C and D, you have Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia, USA. It's loaded, so that's going to complicate things for the United States. In hindsight, looking at the groups, I would prefer that the U.S. were in that group with Ecuador, Venezuela, and was it Jamaica? Yeah, by the way, Jamaica, keep an eye on them, man. They've proven to be a very hard out. I don't think we gave them enough credit when we squeaked by them. They've been pretty good. So that's what's at play with the odds. We're going to get a good look. I mean, those are really low odds for the U.S. that we are hoping for a semifinal. I think the U.S. will make a semifinal. And by the way, we will preview the Copa America when we get a little bit closer. A lot to get into that. I have some big Copa America plans for the Soccer OG, so stay tuned. So we will get to that with more detail. But right now we're talking about what we do between now and then. Some big ticket items, some smaller items that we have to keep an eye on with regards to how we get ready for that competition. And hopefully the odds get a little better. First order of business on the field. Copa America's USA will start June the 27th against Panama in Atlanta. USA opens Panama, Bolivia, Uruguay last. I like that order. So you can secure passage. The big question really for the U.S., do they finish first or second? I think they clear Panama and Bolivia without too many issues. Before that, two massive friendlies to prepare for Copa America. June the 8th, United States will take on Colombia at Landover, Maryland, at Commanders Field, the Washington Commanders, formerly FedEx Field. I'm making a prediction. I think they're going to change their name back to the Redskins at some point. I know some people don't like it, but I think that club is losing too much money, and there might be a pushback. Maybe the Cleveland Guardians go back to the Indians. I'm just saying that, I got a good feeler on that. June the 12th, the United States will play Brazil in Orlando. So these are gifts of friendlies, and we'll preview those games when we get closer. Playing two massive teams that you are from CONMEBOL, two teams that you, in all likelihood, face in the quarters and the semifinals of Copa America. And by the way, if you can get there, yeah, your odds are go. By the way, I want to say this about Argentina. Argentina have huge odds in their favor, and they have a great draw. They have a very favorable Canada, Paraguay. I forgot who the other one is, but they should win all three games. But winning a Copa America, winning a World Cup, winning a third Copa America, that's almost impossible to do. You need so many things to go in your favor, which Argentina has had in previous competitions. I can't imagine things are going to go well, especially with the transition of Messi. Messi, the way he's looking right now, he's going to be in the Copa, but that's it. He's not making the World Cup. No chance. I will say this about Argentina. Post-Messi, they're going to be awesome. There's such a pipeline of talent coming out of there, and they'll have a great number 10. They have good players everywhere and depth. So Argentina is going to be very sexy and very successful once Messi is gone. But I just can't see them winning this Copa America. However, they're going to they could back into a semifinal spot. Mexico's on that side of the bracket, so maybe they can complicate things a wee bit. And that's part of why Mexico's doing a little better. So you have these games for the United States, and between now and then, Greg Berhalter and USSoccer is going to fine-tune this team to be ready for those games, and those games will stretch into Copa America. The roster for those games and Copa America aren't going to change. Speaking of the roster, the 23-man Nations League roster, I don't think Greg Berhalter wants to reinvent the wheel. I believe all the work has been funneled into this. The 23 guys is pretty much close to the roster you're going to see at the Copa America and possibly the World Cup, although let's leave the World Cup where it is. Things can certainly change between now and 2026. But you didn't put the Nations League roster together to change things for the Copa. You've had conversations with players, and I'm sure he says, this is this, we're going to move forward, you'll be okay. There were some injuries, and those players should be incorporated into it. Luca De La Torre, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Josh Sargent. Those are the three players that I think will make the 23. 3 will make way. I'll talk to that about a little bit. Good news for a guy like Drake Callender. I don't see how in a million years Greg Berhalter would bring him in with Ethan Horvath and Matt Turner, who are essential locks. I don't see why he would bring Drake in, get him part of the camp, only to tell him he's not coming for the Copa. His form is not going to dip to a level where it's going to be a concern. So he's okay. He's not going to bring in Zach Steffen or Patrick Schulte or Gaga Slonina. The Nations League trio is going to be there. It's going to be a 23-man roster as well. Defenders. This is where you're going to see some changes because I mentioned Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's going to come in for Mark McKenzie. And the reason I know this, I'm not trying to give you my 2 cents. The Nations League, Tim Ream started a game, Miles Robinson started a game, Chris Richards started 2 games. McKenzie was the odd man out. I believe Cameron Carter-Vickers comes in. The other fullbacks were Serginho Dest, Anthony Robinson, Christopher Lund, and Joe Scally. I wasn't crazy about Joe Scally's performance, but unless someone really puts pressure on him, whether it's a Brian Reynolds or a John Tolkien or a DeJuan Jones, I don't see Scally or Lund losing those positions. Someone would have to have a gangbusters back end of the season. Did I say DeJuan Jones? I like DeJuan Jones a lot. I really do. And I think he's a better player than Joe Scally. Better athlete. Technically not quite there, but just can play both fullback spots. But again, I don't think you bring Joe Scally in there to tell him you're not making the Copa America. So that is pretty set defensively and goalkeeper. Midfielders. Tyler Adams, in. Started, played. Let me go back to Chris Richards because there was a really interesting... Because I think Chris Richards is someone... He is our best center back. I want to see him develop a mean streak, which I think he can do playing in the Premier League. I want to see him push back when he's pushed on. I think he was a little bit timid in some cases. He's still a young player. But I heard an amazing stat while watching the Nottingham Forest Crystal Palace game. Chris Richards has now played every minute of every match for the last 18 games for Crystal Palace. Just remarkable. Durable. They love him there. Keep building him. Palace, we love you developing, but he's very precious, precious property. Don't overstretch him. So that defense is good. Midfield, again, and we can have fun with the roster. I just don't think this is a time to get cute. And I know Greg Berhalter doesn't want a headache. He doesn't want a headache. Midfield is going to be Adams, Cardoso, McKennie, Musa. Reina will be classified as a midfielder. He did play that midfield role. And Luca De La Torre will come in. Brendan Aronson, I think, replaced him. Brendan Aronson I thought he did pretty well in that final in the whatever amount of time he played in the Nations League. So, again, you're not reinventing the wheel here. By the way, I want to talk about, we got to give Greg some credit. He played Tyler Adams in the Nations League. A lot of people thought that was a bad idea. Following weekend, plays 90 minutes for Bournemouth. And then he scores that goal too. So Greg Berhalter has some good feelers here. He had a good feeling and the club followed in suit. Not wearing kid gloves, putting him into the deep end of the pool. Played Gio Reyna in a deeper role. Gio Reyna played some minutes for Nottingham Forest, was involved in an important goal for them. I don't think that's done by accident. I think these clubs kind of follow the lead of the national team. They're looking at tape. They're looking to see if these players can do something. So, while Greg Berhalter has to answer the questions for a few things, and I hope we don't talk too much about him unless there's a reason to talk about. As I said, he won the Nations League. That was priority one. The Jamaica game, we should have done better, but Jamaica looked pretty decent. And I think they're going to be a problem in the Copa America for some teams. Let's move to the forwards. Now, the other player that was replaced was Josh Sargent. He is going to come in. We talked about it because he was an injury-replaced player. Haji Wright came in. And following weekend, he scores a goal for Norwich, telling me that he was healthy enough to play for the U.S. I think there was some arrangement, and the club put some pressure. Norwich are in a promotion fight. They want Sargent there, and you can see he's scoring goals. Greg's going to make Sargent whole and bring him in to the June games and the Copa America. The question is, who does he replace? Balogun's locked. Pulisic, Malik Tillman, Weah. Then you have Pepe, Sargent, Wright. I think Pepe, who was ahead of the pecking order, even though Haji Wright started ahead of them against Mexico, I still think Pepe kind of has that seniority, which means Haji Wright has to make way. I hate to say that, for Josh Sargent. And even if you're creative with midfielders, even if you assign Weah as a fullback, which is a possibility, I don't think there's room for Haji Wright. Malik Tillman wasn't great. I started a conversation on social media. Georgi Mihalovic, set-piece specialist. We're not good at set pieces. Maybe Gianluca Busio is another option. A guy that you can bring in that can give you a pop, set pieces in mind. I don't think either one's going to displace Malik Tillman. So that will stay firm. But these guys can have big end. Busio can have a big push. Mihalovic could have a big push. Brian Reynolds, who's playing all the time at Belgium, can have a big push and get on as a fullback. But it's going to have to be big to move the needle. So 3 changes to the roster. Next order of business, stay healthy. But I feel very good about this team, even though we had a few injuries. These guys are becoming big-time professionals. They're now 24, 25, 26 years of age. They know how to take care of their body. They are working with wonderful nutritionists and strength conditioning guys. This is all good, and this is part of the modern game and certainly playing for top clubs. It would be naive to think that we will come in fully healthy, but I think those minor injuries are starting to go away. Someone could break his leg, whatever it is, but those hamstring, groin pull things, we'll see. We'll see. I feel much better about that because these players were dropping like flies not that long ago. But that's something we have to continue to pursue moving forward. Final thing, and this is something we could all contribute in. We have to get the American public motivated for this Copa. What we saw at the Nations League where nobody knew it was happening, where the stadium was empty, that can't fly. I believe, and I have a lot of conversations with people, that maybe 5% of the American population is aware of USSoccer on a regular basis, cares about it. We got to get that number up to like 20. The World Cup, it's going to get up to 50, 60, I hope. But for Copa America, which is going to feel like a World Cup, we got to get that number up. How we do it? Well, the Soccer OG will do its part. Excuse me. USSoccer's got to do their part. Marketing, PR, big advertising movements, big campaigns for Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie. Advertising, posters. We can't just sit. We've got to get it out. We've got to be creative with it. We've got to align ourselves with people that can help us with here. Big agencies. And create a phenomenon. And I hope it's being in works now, much like you see ahead of a World Cup. Because I talk to people. They don't know about the Copa America. I talk to people in the business. And they're like, when does it start? Who's in it? And I'm like, what? It is not on the radar. That's got to change. We don't have a lot of time to do it. But we can't drop the ball on this one. Now, if the U.S. is successful, it'll get there. But there's no reason why we can't do our part to get people hyped up about it. Fox has got to do their part. I've already heard Fox, because these games are at night, outside of the USA and Mexico games, most of the games are going to be on FS1 and FS2, not on Big Fox. Remember, they have the Euros as well. A lot of the Euro games are going to be on Big Fox. Use the Euros to promote the Copa America. Big time. We have got to get there. Everyone's got to help out. Because the Copa America is going to come and go. And the World Cup's going to come and go. And the sport is just going to... We can't let this opportunity slip by. And it starts this summer. So everyone help out. The Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast. New episode out this Monday. Like and subscribe us here. Hope you all had a great Easter. We'll talk very soon.